Hello and welcome. So today, yes, it is the classic clash of the titans in the colouring pencil world. I have succumbed to buying some Faber Castell Polychromos and some Prismacolor Premier pencils. We're going to be testing both of them to see which is better, which I prefer, what the pros and cons of both. So it's going to be a journey of discovery. So I think we should just get straight on with it. So let's get started. Okay, the pencils we're going to be using today, we are starting off with the Prismacolor Premier pencils. They come in this lovely little tin. I've gone for a 24 set here. It's the smallest set I could find. I'm assuming most people, when they want to or aren't sure about taking the plunge into the more expensive pencils, they're going to take the smallest set that they can find, which is what I've done here. So you get a dual tray of pencils, look really nice and handsome. I picked them up on Amazon for about £28, which is about $38. And one thing I noticed about them immediately is actually they feel quite thin and lightweight in the hand. And kind of feel a little bit cheap, to be honest, but I'm sure the performance will speak for themselves. And onto the Faber Castell Polychromos. Managed to get a 12 set, so not the same range of colours, but obviously that's reflected in the price. Managed to buy it on Amazon for £18.50, which is about $25. And again, come in a nice little tin, nicely presented, very fancy looking writing down the side. And although I know it really doesn't actually count for much, it's all about the performance of the pencil, but in the hand they do feel a bit more premium and a bit nicer to hold. Okay, we're going to start off today by doing something that I never do, but probably always should do, and that is I'm going to swatch these bad boys out, get a feel for how they perform and what they look like when they're down on paper. So we're going to start off with the Prismacolors. Not a huge fan of how these are sharpened by sort of as they come, but it doesn't really make a difference because I'm going to sharpen it myself as soon as I want to use them anyway, so yeah, whatever. So we want a nice range of colour from as dark and heavy as we can down to as light and soft as we can. Mulberry. Okay, that's interesting actually. I really preferred the way the Polychromos went down. I feel like I got some slightly more vivid colours and the grading out to a nice light shade just seemed to go a lot more smoothly than with the Prismacolors. But let's see how they blend together, because that's the next big test really. Okay, there is no competition there. The Prismacolors, they have blended so smoothly. I mean, the Polychromos are good, don't get me wrong, they're not bad, it's just the way you can layer with those. It really actually shocked me. Okay, so what we've learnt so far is the Prismacolors slightly less wieldy, I would say, in terms of using them as single pencils. They're very much softer, so getting fine details is not as easy with them, and I don't feel like they lay down. If you just want like a really soft gradient just using one pencil, they seem a bit more difficult to use. Polychromos is much better for that. You can get a really broad range from very deep saturated colours right down to very faint desaturated colours quite easily. They're a lot harder, so you can get fine details with them, but the big difference is the way the Prismacolors blend together. I guess because they're so soft that they just blend together really buttery and produce this really nice smooth finish. Right, that being said, it's time to move on to making some art with this. So I'm going to go away, get some ideas together, and meet you back here momentarily. Okay, I've gone ahead and sketched out a little design here, and the plan is going to be, I'm going to divide the picture roughly in half. We're going to use our Polychromos for one half, going to use Prismacolor for the other half, and then we can have a direct side-by-side comparison of the results. That's the plan, at least. So we're going to start with the Polychromos, and first things first, we are going to start off with the background, and I've got a cool plan for how to make the background look really smooth and silky and kind of fuzzy and off in the distance. So bear with me, I'm going to make a start, and then we're going to try something a little bit special. Right, so far this is looking very scribbly and rough and not very good, but that is intentional because I'm now going to take a little bit of paint thinner, which I believe will do the job that I'm expecting it to do, but I'm not 100% sure. Take a small amount. Okay, and now with a nice softy watercolour brush, and very clean brush, we're just going to layer this over. Yeah, and it kind of saturates it all, blends it all together. And another advantage that it has is that once it's dried, it kind of soaks all of this pigment into the paper, so then you can layer on top of it really nice and easily. This is the theory, at least. We're about to find out. I'm doing this on watercolour paper as well. It's a really thick watercolour paper, so I'm not worried at all about, you know, making the paper too wet. If you were using a thinner paper for this, then yeah, you would definitely want to be careful about how much you saturate the paper. It will start to buckle and tear apart, and which you wouldn't want, but this can take it. Okay, that's not too bad for a first pass. Gonna let that dry and then carry on with some more layers on top. Okay, I'm layering stuff on top here. It's actually layering on quite well. The extra colours, you can see they're quite vivid and bold, and yeah, when you start working this pigment into the paper, it actually becomes quite pigmented. I'm using the same trick here with the an extra layer of whatever it's called, the paint thinner. to give it the extra smooth effect. Now starting to work on the first character here, just putting in the fundamental shading, nothing fancy here. So I've planned out this picture to try and put the pencils through their paces. I've put in areas in each section that should test the pencil's ability to layer, their ability to blend, and so we'll see how it goes. The background was quite a test for the Polychromos, as they are not as suited for blending, so I had to quite heavily use the paint thinner technique to smooth it all out, but we got there in the end. So far I can say the Polychromos were performing pretty well. I was pretty happy with them. They go down really nice and smoothly. They perform a lot better than any pencils I've ever used before, definitely, in terms of just how much pigment you can get on the paper. And now here's coming a bit more of a test for these pencils. I intentionally left this area. I mean, I probably would have drawn it a different way if I wasn't testing the pencils, but I wanted to see how well the white would layer on top of this blue. Not as well as I'd hoped, but still pretty good. You can see it's it's definitely layering on top, just not struggling to get a really bright white. I say if I wasn't doing this purely for the purposes of testing the pencils, I would have left areas pure white or erased areas or used a white gel pen or something like that. There we are, a few finishing details, and I think that is the Polychromos side finished. And it's looking pretty fancy here, even if I do say so myself. Now apologies, I did forget to push record when I started the Prismacolor side, but you haven't missed much, so don't worry. Just starting here with the fancy glowy magic effect. And what I learnt in my little swatching test held up to be true. In practical use, these were so much easier to layer on top of each other and to blend together. They were just so smooth and buttery. I don't think I had to use me trusted paint thinner technique at all for the well, definitely not until the very end. I think I neatened things up with it at the very end, but generally I could just blend all these together really nice and smoothly with pretty little effort. And here again, the same kind of thing as I was trying to do with the Polychromos, layering the white on top, and even that is going a lot better. You get a lot brighter white on top of the other colours. One thing I did notice when actually using these, obviously because they're a much softer pencil, the Prismacolors do blunten a lot quicker, like so quick. You're pretty much constantly sharpening them, so that is something to bear in mind. And also, if you sharpen them too much, then you have to be very careful about breaking them, because they're very easily broken being so soft. But the upsides, if you want something to get a really nice smooth blend, these are the pencils you want. So as I'm starting to wrap up with the background here, yeah, unsurprisingly, well, my experience using the pencils in practice was pretty much as I expected from me initial testing. The Prismacolors obviously much easier to blend, but much softer, not very good for fine details. And Faber Castells much better at the finer details, but don't blend together quite so well. They're a much harder pencil, and they stay sharp for a lot longer, and tend to be a bit easier to sort of graduate from light to dark as well. A bit more controllable, I guess. But yeah, this was a really fun little drawing for me to have a go at. Obviously a little battle between the Polychromos and Prismacolors. A wizardy, magic-y shooting jar battle.
Pirate.
Which I think sums up how I felt about putting these behemoths up against each other. But either way, I think I learned a lot about them. Hope you did too. And back to the studio. So there we have it, one finished piece, and I'm pretty pleased with how it's turned out. It was very interesting to find out all the little differences between the two. I will definitely carry on using both pencils just for different circumstances, as you know, they use each one to their strengths. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it was interesting for you and informative if you're in the market for either the Faber Castells or the Prismacolors. Either way, you can't really go that wrong, because they're both very good quality pencils. For me, that's all I've got time for, so we shall leave you with a nice close-up of the finished product. So, until next time, cheerio.